So the rule is that the pasuk says for 7 days he has to eat matzahs and he should not eat any chametz, and you should also get rid of all the sa'ar. So what's the difference between sa'ar? Right? You notice how it changed off. It says b'yom rishon tashbisu, the first day of Pesach, tashbisu, you have to get rid of, to destroy all sa'ar from your bias. All this sa'ar, this leaven. Ki chol oichel chametz, so anyone who eats chametz. Now notice how it switched to chametz. Why did it start off first? It said you have to get rid of sa'ar, and then it said, but because anyone who eats chametz, his soul will get cut off. It switched where there's two separate nouns over here in the verse, and it switched from the beginning to the end. It should have said you should get rid of all chametz, because anyone who eats chametz, well, his soul will get cut off from the Jews. Right? It should have been consistent, or it should have said sa'ar. Anyone, you should destroy all sa'ar, all this leaven, because anyone who eats leaven, his soul will get cut off. What is this? And it's found in a lot of different verses in the Chumash. If you look at it, you'll see interesting. A lot of places.
So sa'ar is the grain?
So sa'ar is a very, very confusing word, because it sounds like sa'ora.
Yeah, but it's not?
But it's not sa'ora. No. What it is, they type it as yeast.
But like you're not allowed to put sa'ar on the mizbeach.
Right.
Right.
Right. You're not allowed to put this sa'ar. It's not saying sa'ora. Sa'ora is actually sa'ora is barley. Barley is actually part of one of the offerings that they brought. Right? They brought one of the offerings before Pesach, right after Pesach. On the second day of Pesach, they brought a barley offering. They did bring barley, so it's not that right for the Omer.
So sa'or and sa'ora has got nothing to do with one another.
Right. These are two separate.
So what is sa'or?
So what is sa'or? Here, just pass in that paper.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sa'or. So I'm going to tell you what the difference is between sa'or and sa'ora. And we'll see the first pasuk here. It starts off with one and ends up with the other. But the answer is sa'ar is yeast, or better yet, it's a leavening type of agent. It's something which makes something else chametz, right? It's a type. It can't be just a chemical. A chemical is not. You don't have to get rid of a chemical agent which makes something chametz. But if it's something which used to be, it's a type of thing to help ferment the chametz, to make the chametz become chametz. Right, it makes it become leaven. The yeast or sourdough. Right, you have to be a little bit of a cook to know to understand all this. But you help out in the kitchen of Joe. You have to be a little bit of a cook. But it's such a thing as yeast. Yeast helps the flour, helps the dough rise. So, or sourdough. Sourdough is also. The bakers, they keep the sourdough in the oven, they keep the old sourdough, and when they want to make their batch of dough rise, they put the sourdough on top of it, and it rises. Right? You didn't think I'd be telling you any cooking tips, did you? No, I'm less in the kitchen than you. But that's the idea. It's a leavening agent. Now, it cannot be just a chemical. A chemical itself you don't have to get rid of. That's not right, which means we're saying there's two things. There's lechem, there's bread, and chametz.
But you just said that sa'or is a chemical.
No, it's not a chemical.
It's an agent.
It's what?
It's a precursor of a reaction.
Right, but it has to have. It can't be just a chemical.
Sorry?
It's a bacteria.
Okay.
It's not a chemical, right?
Right. It can't be just a chemical. Let's say they find some chemical which they'll pour, and that will make it rise. That you don't have to get rid of on Pesach. Only something which started out as chametz and now is like a yeast or a sourdough or such a type of thing you have to get rid of on Pesach. That's the idea here. It either has to have been chametz originally, or it has to be now. Now it has to have chametz in it. And such a yeast or leavening agent, even though you wouldn't eat it, right? It's what the Mishnah speaks about this. It's called pas she'ipsha. Ofesh with the ayin in Hebrew comes from the word spoiled, right? So spoiled bread, if it's old yeast or old dough, so that is, even though you wouldn't eat it, but you still have to get rid of it from your house on Pesach, because that's a leavening agent. It is what they call is, it's able to make something else chametz if it's put in together with it, and therefore that's se'ar. So there's chametz, that's real bread, and then there's se'ar, the yeast or the sourdough, which
has potential to make things chametz.
Right. It's an agent to make other things chametz. So that's the second thing that the pasuk is saying. So that's what the pasuk says. So the pasuk reads like this. There are two things. There's Shivas Yamim Matzis Techelu. You have to 7 days. You have to eat matzis. Ach v'yem rishon tashbisu sa'ar b'vatechem. You have to get rid of sa'ar from your house. You have to get rid of the leavening agent. And then he's saying ki chol ha'echel chametz, because anyone who eats chametz, which means, of course, you have to get rid of the actual chametz, but even you have to get rid of this leavening agent, because this could cause other things to become chametz. It could cause dough to rise, and therefore, anyone who eats chametz, you have to be careful that his soul will get cut off. So therefore, the pasuk says, the verse says, not only is it forbidden to eat chametz, it's also forbidden to have in your house sa'ar. That's the second thing. And you'll look through, when we're going to read through on the actual day of Pesach, and all of the times when we're going to take out the Torah, we're going to read it, and we're going to read all these psukim, so you're going to notice all the time it's going to switch off. Sa'ar, and it's going to switch off, and then say, in the next verse, it's going to say chametz. So you'll understand why it switches off. I'll read you one more pasuk, which is also, you'll see, you could write this down, it's also in Shemais. If you write down where it is, you'll notice it when we do it on Pesach. Look inside, you just write this down, and you'll look it up after. It's in Shemais Perek Yud Beis, pasuk Yutes. So,
which one's which again? So
chametz is chametz. Chametz is the bread, or any type of. What?
What perek?
Perek Yud Beis, pasuk Yutes, and pasuk Chaf. So chametz is the actual bread, and se'ar is yeast. They would touch it yeast. Perek Yud Beis, pasuk Yud Tes, and pasuk Chaf. So se'ar is the yeast, the leavening agent, and the sourdough. So there's two things you have to get rid of. So when you look around your house to do the bedikas chametz, to search for the chametz, you have to be aware for these two things. Let me just read you how it says it over here. It's also very interesting. It says, Shivas Yamim, for 7 days, Se'ar lo yimati b'batechem. You shouldn't have Se'ar in your house. Ki chal eichel machmetes. Right? If you want, maybe I'll just read it outside. It says, Se'ar you shouldn't have in your house. Why? Ki kol eichel machmetes. Because anyone who eats machmetes. What's the root of the word machmetes? Chametz. Because anyone who eats chametz, it's the same identical pasuk as the one that we have over here. It will get cut off. And then it says, "Kol machmetzes lo yisachelu." Don't eat chametz. So again, the same thing. You'll see it on.
So you say kol machmetzes is only with regards to bread, or is it with regards to other stuff? Like lemon is machmetzes too.
No, so that's what I'm saying. It can't be a chemical or a lemon. It has to have in it. It has to have some sort of chametz that it used to be chametz, and now it turned into spoiled something else. Something else, but sourdough or yeast or something. But it was once chametz, so that's called sa'ar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the second thing. Yeah.
This is a side point. It says beso, so shouldn't we see from there that you can't have chametz in your house even if you sold it?
No, so it's not your house. If you sell it, it's not your house.
It's your house. The chametz is not
Or
yours.
if you sell the chametz, then you don't have chametz in your house. It's not your chametz.
But it says beso.
It's in matzeh betecha. It will still be in your house.
So if you sell a room of your house, it's not considered part of
But
the
you
house?
don't sell a room of your house. You sell the chametz. You don't sell a room
So some
of your
people
house.
sell the cabinets. Some people sell the cabinets.
It's still in the house.
No, but that's not part of his house.
Well,
You'd have to know exactly how they do it. If you want to know if they sell the actual chametz, so it's not yours. No, the problem is you shouldn't see your own chametz. In your house. It's both. It also means it should be if someone comes in, walks in with his own chametz, as long as you don't take any responsibility for that chametz, right? Then it's not a problem. You shouldn't find any chametz in your house. Which chametz in your house connotes that it's your possessions. That's what it's coming to denote. So this is what we have to just. That's the first thing. Now, so when you'll have to look through it. The truth is, so all this that I'm telling you now, you write this down. This is all brought down in the Gemara, and the Ran is the one who speaks this out. Right? This is the Ran, Rabbeinu Nisim Gon. Rabbeinu Nisim, he speaks this out, and it's in Pesachim. It's very important. This Ran is one of the big Rans who makes this distinction between Sa'ar and Chametz. Right? If you want to know where that is, that Ran brought down in Pesachim. I'll tell you where that starts on the Pesachim Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis. So it's very important to see that if you want to see it inside. So therefore, that's what a person has to keep in mind. Any of these things to look through. Okay. Now, and therefore, just to say one more thing on that question, if you have a vegetable yeast, that you don't have to get rid of, because that also, a vegetable yeast, it never had in it actual chametz. It wasn't ever a chametz, and therefore that's like a chemical. That's fine. Okay. So now let's go a little further. Now let's learn a little bit of a Shulchan Aruch. This is brought down an interesting rule. Let's see it inside. This is brought down in the middle of Yoreh De'ah. Yoreh De'ah speaks about all types of Isurim. So it says, Isur, if you have a piece of something forbidden, Shenas Arev Beheter, that got mixed up with Heter. It got mixed a little bit of something. Let's say you had a piece of something not kosher. Let's say even a little bit of milk.
Like in the shishim.
Milk falls into your pot of meat. A little bit of milk, and meat you can't eat together. And if it's cooked together, that's already going to be usher, right? That's forbidden from the Torah, milk and meat. So what happened is a little bit of milk fell into your plate of meat, into your pot of meat, and it's cooking together. So what's the rule?
1/60.
So if it has 1/60th, if the milk is just a little drop, that it's 1/60th of the meat, then it's nullified, because there's so much meat that the milk you can't even taste it, and therefore it's called batal. It's nullified in 60 times, because that's what the Chachamim ascertain. That's the right amount that you won't taste it, because
there's one addition to it. I think that that it doesn't give it the taste. So if it's less than 60th, but it contributes to the taste, then it doesn't
so
matter.
Usually if it's 1/60th, it won't contribute to the taste. There are certain exceptions, certain very strong materials, but usually it won't. And this halacha actually says that you should actually, if you have a non-kosher, non-Jewish cook, you give it to the cook, and you ask him to taste it, and to ask him, do you taste any milk in this piece of meat? Right? It's called in Hebrew, in Aramaic, it's called a kfela, to cook. That's what the Aramaic cooks will call the kfela. So you give it to a kfela, and you ask him, do you taste any milk? And if he says he tastes milk, then you can't eat it. If he says he doesn't taste it, then you could eat it, because that shows that it was nullified. Now, if there's no cooks around, so what you do is you have to just measure out the proportion and see if it's 1/60th. So you somehow are able to make the proportions, the ratios. Then if it's 1/60th, then you say it's okay. And that's how you also, because or else also, how could you ever give a guy to taste the same type of food? Let's say a little bit of non-kosher chicken got mixed up with kosher chicken. So if it's two different types, so then, let's say something not kosher, got mixed in with milk and meat, so you could taste it. But if it's the same type of one kosher but not one non-kosher, you can't give it to a cook to taste. There you have to go to the 1/60th and see if it's 1/60th, then it's okay. If it's more, then you can't eat it. That's the rule in all over. It's called Yoreh De'ah. Yoreh De'ah deals with all these laws, or part of our Yoreh De'ah. It's called Basar B'Chaluf. This is milk and meat, all about the kitchen and cooking forbidden things together. So this is the first rule, that if you have 1/60th, it's okay. Now, the next rule, right, let's see it inside. Isur Shenas Arev, right? The second thing is Isur Shenas Arev. If you have something forbidden that got mixed up, beheter, with something which was mutter, min b'sheina mina. Now, if it's two different types of foods, kigoy and chalav, like milk, Shenas Arev b'basar, that got mixed up with meat. Sheyatimenu nachri. You give it Yati menu comes from the root word
Litom.
to taste. You give a nachri, you give a guy to taste it, and he sees if he says it does not taste like milk, so then it's okay. Or if he tells you sheyesh baitam, he says it has a little bit of taste. Ela shehu pogum. Pogum means we have this
distorted.
It's a little bit bad. It's going bad. So therefore, a taste which is going bad, that's also not a problem. Like,
that the milk's going bad, or
right.
the whole mixture?
Or it makes the mixture bad. So I believe that's what it is. So therefore, such a thing is mutter. However, as long as it won't make it in the end turn good, right? It could be it's temporarily turning bad. It makes it bad, and then it will get better. So that wouldn't be good. It has to be that it's turning bad. It's called in Hebrew. This is a big rule for meat and milk when you're going to have a kitchen. So it's called noisein tam lifgam. It gives a tam. It gives a taste. Lifgam, but for the bad. It gives a bad taste. So therefore, that's not called giving a good taste. So therefore, that it's only a problem if it's giving a good taste. If it's giving a tam pogum, then it's also
what if, according to his taste, it's bad, and according to your taste, it's good?
So I guess they have to do something objective. They have a case in there about a mouse falling into the different types of. You'd have to see an objective case where I guess you'd have to see. It could be it depends on the one who's potted it. Would that constitute a very? It wouldn't be good. So then that would be okay. Okay, so that's what you do. You give it to the guy to taste. The main show might take a chavim, but if there's no guy around to taste, l'toya might to taste it. V'sharinan v'shishim. So we take an estimate of 60, and if it's 60, it's okay. If it's more, then it wouldn't be good. V'chein, and also the same thing. That's by this till here we're talking about two types of foods, but the same thing would be min b'minoi. Min b'minoi is the rule. Min means a type. B'minoi in its own type. That means you got this two types of foods. But here's one type of food, but one is kosher, one's not, so you have no way to taste it. So you also have to give it to, you can't give it to anyone to taste. Given the lekal meka matayma, because you cannot stand on you can't taste it. You cannot taste, was there kosher food more, or could you taste the non-kosher food? You can't, it's all the same. Therefore, misharim b'shishim, then you also estimate 60. This is all over how we deal with all forbidden foods that fall in. Someone got chalef, fat that you can't eat mixed in. All these types of things got mixed in. You do this process, and then you know if it's batal, nullified if this is very, very minute amount. Okay.
But shishim doesn't apply to Pesach, right?
Oh, very good. Excellent. Excellent. So go look at the next one. The next halacha, very good. Says the Shulchan Aruch, which is in Hilchos Pesach, Siman Tov Memvav. He says, here's a different rule. Chometz b'Pesach, that if it's chometz on Pesach, asher taruvasoi, which got mixed in together, bein b'minoi, whether it's the min with the same min, or whether it's min shaloi b'minoi, whether it was two types of foods, one was chometz, and the chometz got mixed into a different type of food, which usually you could give, if it would have been just a piece of something not kosher, a piece of lobster or something, you could have just tasted it, or 60, estimated with 60. On Pesach you can't. Here's the famous word. Here it's b'mashahu. Mashahu means a drop. A drop, a little drop makes the whole thing no good. Because a drop of chavetz, this is worse than, and he says, afilu b'hana, you can't even have hana. And what do you have to do? Says the Haggadah, the Ramah says, what do you do with it? The Tzarech L'Israel, if I call, you have to burn the whole thing. V'leisagi b'pidyon demei.
You cannot redeem it.
The limkar shar. You can't say, well, I'm going to see exactly how much chametz there was, and it's just a little drop. So what I'll do is I'll redeem that drop, and then the rest, right? I'll redeem the chametz, and the rest of it I could eat, because really it would be batal. No, you can't do it. You can't try to pick out which part was which was good, because once it got mixed up, right? You can't pick it out. If you could pick it out, that's fine. But here it got mixed up, so you have to throw out the whole thing. You have to burn it, and That's it. There's no way out. And then you get your mitzvah when you burn it. The mitzvah of destroying chametz. There is a mitzvah of destroying chametz, and that's the pasuk that we saw on the top, tashbisu, right? It's actually a good point to see that when it says over there on the top pasuk, tashbisu sa'ar mibatechem, on the top line, that's a mitzvah that everyone says you have to get rid of your chametz. There is a question, by the way, about that. Does it mean you have to actually buy? You have to make sure you have chametz to destroy it, or does it mean if you have chametz, then you should destroy it? Two sides of the coin. Does it just mean destroy any chametz that you have in your possession, and if you already cleaned it out, then you're okay? You're fine. Just make sure you don't have chametz in your possession. Or is it tashbisu? Make sure you get rid of it. There's actually a mitzvah to get rid of it, and if you don't have any chametz, then you should buy some Sunday morning so you can get rid of it. These are the two sides of the Minchas Chinuch. Minchas Chinuch asks his two sides, and he goes into a lot of different differences. You hear the two sides. Interesting. Is this clear, the two sides? Is the mitzvah that you should actually destroy it? The word tashbisu means destroy. That means Sunday morning you should actually destroy it. You have to make sure you destroy the chametz, because it says tashbisu, destroy it. Tashbisu sa'ar mibatechem. It says you have to destroy the yeast, which also includes the chametz. You have to destroy it. And if you don't have any chametz, because your wife already destroyed it all today and tomorrow, then you have to buy more chametz because you have a mitzvah to destroy it. Or maybe it just means make sure you have gotten rid of all your chametz. And therefore, if you don't have any chametz left, so then you're okay. You have gotten rid of it.
Which one is?
Okay, so some people are stringent upon themselves, and they make sure they have a kezayis, they make sure they have an olive's worth, and they're able to burn that amount on Sunday just to be stringent. Most people, they have it Sunday morning because they find the 10 pieces that they put out for the search on Sunday night. So most people, they don't have a problem with the actual getting a olive's worth of chametz. Especially people get the last breakfast in, so they have a little bit left over. So that's the idea. Tashbisu, you have to destroy it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
If, say you have cereal at home and you put it in the basement, do you have to throw it away, or you sold it and you put it in a...
If you sold it, so then it wasn't yours. So then it's fine. You should put it away. You shouldn't see it anyway.
Right, but let's say you put it in an isolated room.
Okay, so that's fine.
But it's a clear chametz, right?
So you shouldn't see it. You should have it put away, and it should be marked off in case the guy wants to come get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the guy's. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
If he comes to during Pesach, he wants to take it. It's his. Okay, so that's the idea, and we have Pesach here. So we see Pesach is aser. Pesach you cannot eat it, and it's b'mashu. So this word is a good word to get down pat.
Why?
Why
is it? No, I'm just wondering why are we so much more machmir about chametz?
Yeah, so this is an excellent question, and I'm going to answer the question on two levels. The question is, why is chametz more stringent than the whole year, than all basar b'chalav, and all types of meat and milk and all lobster, all of that? We say if a drop comes in, that's fine. It's just a drop of milk. A drop of milk and a big chunk is fine because it was 1 in 60. You shouldn't do it. You should try to keep everything separate. But if it falls in, that's fine. So why is Pesach more stringent than if a drop of chametz falls into your pot or falls into your food? It makes the whole thing. You cannot eat it. It falls into your pot, even if it's 1 to 200. It's not nullified. So we're going to answer this on two levels. The first level is the Gemara, and the Gemara speaks this out. I think Rashi, and he says that the answer is because this is a very stringent mitzvah. This mitzvah of not seeing any chametz. It is so stringent that if someone has an olive's worth, a half a slice of rye bread, that's how much an olive's worth is. It's called a kezayis. An olive's worth is a kezayis. He has an olive's worth, a half a slice of rye bread in his house that he didn't sell and he didn't destroy on Pesach. So that is very, very, very stringent punishment. That's karos. His soul will get cut off. So usually the positive commandments aren't, or negative ones. They're not such a big punishment. This is called karos. This is very, very stringent. this punishment. Therefore, the Rabbanon, the rabbis, they instituted that you should not. They wanted to show the height of its stringency, and therefore they said that also with in terms of nullification, it should not become nullified if it falls in. It's because it's matching up to the idea of how stringent the actual prohibition is. The rabbis also took away that the nullification that should not become nullified in 1 in 60. That's what's brought down, I believe, in Rashi, and that's I could even look up the source for you. Yeah, that's what they. Yeah, so that's what they did. They took away that thing, and therefore,
What's the punishment of having exercise in non-kosher?
For non-kosher food, so it's not carbs. Let's say non-kosher food. There's different lavin, different prohibitions. But let's say if someone, each one is a prohibition. If he eats an ant,
like it's like in Yom Kippur.
Certain ones are, but it seems like this is more even this is more stringent. And and that's what they say. Here I have it brought down that on Pesach, these are the words. We can look it up after. The words are on Pesach. Chomet is an isser. It's a prohibition of chorus. Therefore, Tiknu Chazal. The rabbis instituted that chometz should not become nullified with even a drop. So I guess it's interesting exactly to understand that, but that's the idea. That so stringent, so the rabbis wanted to keep it with stringency.
Is it because of the word kol, maybe? Do they have the word kol with regards to eating non-kosher food? Because that would imply, like it says in the pasuk, ki kol ochel chametz. Maybe that's, you could interpret that as like not even a tiny drop, literally everything.
Could be, but this is brought down. I'll show you inside later. This is brought down in the Gemara. I think it's with Rashi or Tosfos says this reason that the rabbis took it away because it's such a stringent prohibition. Yeah. But everything else, which is not so stringent, although you have to take each one by itself, on the whole, therefore they said it's batal with shisha. Yeah.
I was just going to make a comparison to Yom Kippur, where if you eat, or if you don't, me'anei nafshecha, and they say that if you eat, you're violated, and it says you also get kritut.
Right.
If you eat on Yom Kippur, but if you eat a certain measure, it's not deemed to be eating.
Right. There on Yom Kippur you need to eat an amount which is like a satisfying amount. But we learn out it has to satisfy you, which would be the shear, like a kazayas. But here it's even a tiny drop of chametz would make the rest of the mixture chametz. Okay. So that's on one level. That's the answer to your question. That's brought down, and to go a little on a deeper level is an interesting tour that's brought down in the next part. The tour says that all the holidays there's three big Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuos are corresponding to the three forefathers. So he says the Moyadim Niskanu Keneged Avos. They're instituted corresponding to the forefathers. Pesach Keneged Avraham, and Pesach corresponds to Avraham. And seems, maybe it follows too. But he says, and he brings a proof. The proof is because it says in the Chsiv, it says in the verse that Avraham told his when he had the three Arabs come to visit him, so he quickly told Yishmael. He said, quickly go make some ugots. Lushi means, comes from the word losh, to knead. He says, quickly knead up a few ugots. What's ugots mean?
Cakes.
The cakes. Literally means cakes. But the question is, what does it refer to? And the Gemara says that it refers to matzah. That when Yitzchak was born, and when the three angels came, they came to Avram on Pesach. And then they told him you're going to have a baby, and he made a sritah, he made a big mark on the wall. And he says when the sun goes around and it comes in a year from now, and it will come to this spot on the wall, you're going to have a baby. And that's when he had Yitzchak. So that was also on Pesach. So Yitzchak was born on Pesach. So this is all corresponding to Avram, who said, Lushi vasi ugos, you should make those ugos, those cakes, which were matzahs. He made his matzahs for the 3 Arab guests because it was Pesach. So that's what the ugos correspond to. So therefore Avram is connected to Pesach. Yeah.
Was that way before Pesach? It wasn't Avram.
It was before Pesach. There was no Pesach yet because there was no going out of Egypt yet. But Avram kept the whole Torah. Avram kept everything, even Erev Tavshilin. He kept all the mitzvahs. It says that his kidneys taught him the Torah. His kidneys, it says the kidneys are yoetzes. Kidneys, eitzah. Kidneys give you advice.
Consultants, not
Pasuk in Tillim. Pasuk in Tillim says the kidneys give a person advice if he knows how to look at the creation and to recognize Hashem from there, and you could learn out certain parts of the Torah. Avraham also had Ruach HaKodesh. He also had divine inspiration, and therefore he was able to learn out what certain mitzvahs were, what all the mitzvahs were in the Torah. The Gemara speaks about this. The Gemara says this in Yuma. He learned out the whole Torah. So anyway, so he kept the whole Torah. He kept even Erev Tavshilin, even to make a certain type of Erev. He knew how to do that also, even though the rabbis instituted that. That's not even one of the 613 mitzvahs. He knew that he did that too. So in any event, that was Avram. So let's go a little further now. Now let's get into the dough. What is this dough? What is this sa'ar? So there's an interesting Gemara in Brachas. The Gemara in Brachas says, Rabbi Alexandri, Basa de Matzli, right, is number 8. After he used to pray, Amar Hachi, he used to say the following words. Golav Yadua. He says, it's revealed and known, Lefanecha, Ribono Olamim. He says, the master of all the worlds. It's revealed and known, Lefanecha, in front of you, Sheritzainenu, that our will is Lases Ritzanecha. He says, all of the Jews, we really want to do God's will. Right? Who doesn't want to do Hashem's will? Who doesn't want to do mitzvahs and learn Torah? But, Umi Ma'akiv, who is Ma'akiv? Who is holding back? Who is the one who's holding us back from doing God's will? Sa'ar Shaba'isa. The Sa'ar, this yeast of the dough. The yeast of the dough. Interesting words. And Shibud Malchus. Also, second thing is Shibud Malchus, the fact that the kings have the dominance over us, and therefore we cannot exercise all of our free will to do whatever we want. But the first thing is Sa'ar Shaba'isa. What is Sa'ar Shaba'isa? What does the yeast in the dough have to do with us doing all the mitzvahs? So, on that, Rashi says right underneath it, Perish Rashi, Mi Ma'akiv, who's holding back? She'ein anu oisin ritzanecha, that we cannot do your will. Sa'ar Shaba'isa. So Rashi says, the Yetzer Hara shebilavavenu. It's the evil inclination in our hearts. Hamachmitzenu, which makes us become leaven. So Rashi here is saying an interesting idea that the chametz corresponds to the sa'ar corresponds to the Yetzer Hara, and just like the sa'ar causes the chametz, it causes or dough to become chametz, so too the Yetzer Hara causes us to do sin. Therefore, that's the reason we really want to do. Everyone wants to do God's will. Everyone wants to come and do mitzvahs. But the Yetzer Hara, he causes us to do averos. He gives us a little bit of enticements and different things which lead us to do bad, and therefore that's holding us back from serving God all the way. And that goes very well with the fact that they say that the Yetzer Hara is like a strange god. Strange God in you. Pasuk says, I didn't write this in, but it says, Lo yiya becha el zar. We say on Thursday we say this in the last part of the prayers in the morning. Lo yiya becha el zar. It shouldn't be in you a foreign God. Ve'lo yisishtachavel. You shall not bow down to elehei necha. So it says that you shouldn't bow down to foreign gods.